We are less than 24 hours away from watching the greatest quarterback of our times step on the football field again. That's Tanner McKee. I am riding shotgun with my friend EJ Smith right here. Let's talk about it all on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast. I got a new guy, for at least for me, not a new guy for you guys this week, but I got a new guy over here, my friend EJ Smith. EJ, welcome to the team.
Handsome Rich, it's good to be up here with you. You know, I obviously understand the origin of the Handsome Rich nickname because, I mean, come on, look at the guy. But who gave you that name? Who coined the name Handsome Rich?
Well, it was Mr. Beowulf, and it was also he who shall not be named, I believe, is how we're going about it too.
You know, Bo's never called me handsome, so you got a leg up. Leg up on me there.
You know, you could spend a lot of time. He'll have some thoughts on your appearance and everything. All right. By the way, I should mention that we are the PHLY Eagles podcast live from the Xfinity studio, presented by Xfinity, Dudhat Dental, and TrueMark Financial Credit Union. You've done great, man. It's been these podcasting 5 days a week. It's probably a new experience for you, but I'm excited to join up with you and also have you as part of the show for the fall. It's going to be fun. Eagles should be pretty good.
I've got a lot of unhinged takes, and this is a great platform for me to get those off of my chest. So, you know, I think they'll get weirder and weirder as we get going here. But it's been a lot of fun, a fun first week for sure.
Let's do it. Okay, so EJ, the way we were going to do today's show, and this was your idea, I thought this was a good idea. You have watched every second of training camp. I have watched 0 seconds of training camp. You are objective when you cover the team, and
I try to be.
You try. Hey, look, you try to call it like you see it. I am very invested in whether they win or lose the games. So 2 different perspectives, and we figured let's ask each other some questions about, you ask me sort of the fan idea, how you feeling about this player, all of these things. And I ask you, what the heck is going on at training camp? Because I'm reading all of the daily reports, including yours, at allphly.com, but I'm not watching it. I don't have a good feel for what exactly is going on. I mean, I watched the preseason game, but you are just at such an information advantage compared to me. I need you to tell me what's going on, man.
Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff that's probably in like the recesses of my mind that I'm hoping you can help pull out. Maybe there's something that I saw a week ago and it's like, now that you mention it, that did happen at practice. So I figured this would be a good exercise. And honestly, I've got some things, listen, as someone who can, is guilty of being in the weeds at times, maybe I spend a little bit too much time thinking about the 53rd guy on the roster, even the 55th guy on the roster. Maybe you will have some broad strokes questions for me here. So I'm excited to do this. I think it'll be a good exercise.
Well, you will fit in well on the show where, the Dylan McMahon release is still seared in everybody's mind. I think the 53rd man, hey, look, we gotta get invested in the small stuff sometimes. So I think that is just as important as, are they going to win week 1? Who knows? Okay. So the first question I have for you, and I guess we should make this, Julia, the big takeaway, presented by Xfinity, the big takeaway, Xfinity, where the Wi-Fi is booming. And EJ, this is a very simple question. What has changed your mind, either positive or negative, the most in these 3 weeks of training camp football, compared to you show up on, I think it was July 23rd, 25th, compared to sitting next to me now? You've watched a lot of practice. What has changed your mind? What player, what area of the team position do you think about differently? And it can be positive or negative.
Yeah, I think, honestly, the linebacking core stands out to me because obviously we knew that Jihaad Campbell was a talented player. We didn't know exactly where he was going to play. And his stock has risen so much over the last couple of weeks. And, I can't really envision this Eagles defense without Jihaad Campbell playing some sort of role. And I think that that is a step forward from where we were going into the summer. We didn't know if he was going to be healthy, for the first practice. And we didn't know, again, what his role really was going to look like. Now I'm at a point where I can't wait to see him and Zach Bond lined up as the two linebackers in a Vic Fangio defense. And I think, honestly, that's going to be one of the biggest assets for that defense this year. We'll talk about the secondary later in the show, I'm sure. But those two guys, the versatility that they possess, and really how much Jihaad Campbell has stood out physically, I think that he is not only going to be somebody who has a big role in the defense, I think he has the potential to be a difference maker right out the bat or right off the jump. And that is a big difference from where I was when they drafted him. I was a little bit surprised when they drafted him. I didn't expect them to go off-ball linebacker in the first round. Howie Roseman talked about his edge versatility, and I wondered if were they going to try and sneak him out at edge rusher. I think that he is a Zach Bond mirroring linebacker for this team from week one onward. And I think that that is, again, seeing it all the time at training camp, I think that that is going to be a really exciting thing for that front seven.
I'm very excited for that too. I mean, one of my favorite things that I saw last year was Zach Bond on those overhang blitzes where, he was just very versatile. And then, the Eagles got, I would say, a little bit fortunate because it's rare for a guy who is a situational edge rusher / special teamer for most of his career to, at 28 years old, just be, the best off-ball linebacker in the league and lead the league's best defense. But you also saw that versatility. And when you mentioned mirroring, I think it will be cool that, Nakobe Dean was not doing quite as much of that stuff last year.
Yeah, he doesn't
very
have
good
quite
player,
the versatility for sure. But I've seen some 6-man fronts the last few days. And and when you think about Zach Bond and Jihaad Campbell, they both can do that type of stuff, especially we've seen some instances where like a Jalen Carter or a Moro Ojomo, shift out to that defensive end 5 technique look where, they are a little bit further out. I could see some really exotic fronts because of the fact that you have those guys who can line up from all different parts of the field.
Oh, baby. Uncle Vic cooking up some nasty stuff in the lab. Yeah, no, I think that's the interesting part of it, where you have Jihaad Campbell. What have you made of Jihaad Campbell as a pass defender so far? Because I think in training camp, the run game, even though it seems like they ran the ball pretty well against the Browns over the past few days. Yeah. You can't really get a lot from the run game because there's no tackling. Sometimes it's like, a guy will play 2-hand touch and it's like, would he actually have gotten Saquon Barkley on the ground? Probably not, but we don't know. What have you made, though? You can take a little bit more from the pass stuff. What have you seen from Jihaad Campbell as a pass defender? It seems like it's been a little bit different in terms of the zone defense. Yes. Has been a little bit better than the man stuff. I kind of think that's okay because the Eagles play a lot of zone defense. So that's good. But what have you seen there?
Yeah, I think you definitely need to separate the man coverage from the zone coverage. In zone coverage, I think he will be comfortable. He's had some pass breakups. He actually, the first play of the game or first play of practice yesterday, he had a PBU against Joe Flacco on throw over the middle of the field. Now, the man coverage, I don't think you really want him manned up against running backs with a two-way go very often. And that is not really that surprising. Like you mentioned, it is not something, it's a tough assignment for a linebacker. He's had his troubles in man coverage against running backs coming out of the backfield for sure. But I think more what what I want to see over time is his ability to look for extra work. Like that's one of Zach Bond's trademark things, is that if there's nobody in his zone, he's going to float. He's going to try and find extra responsibilities outside of the scheme. That's like a 200 or a 300 level course for a player. Yeah. I don't think Jihaad Campbell is quite there yet, but I do think he can get there because he does look comfortable in zone coverages. Even when he is that overhang player, he is able to kind of drop into his zone and find, just cover up ground. His athleticism is what stands out the most. He is very physical, but he's taller than most linebackers. He is quicker than a lot of the linebackers I've seen come through the Eagles. I mean, we haven't talked about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. or Smile Mondon yet.
It's just about to get there, yeah.
The depth that they have there, like Jihaad Campbell hasn't been gifted this job. Like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has done a good job all summer. Smile Mondon, I was talking to a friend about this the other day. Like Smile Mondon would start on almost every Jim Schwartz defense that I covered while he was the defensive coordinator. I mean, he is a solid player. He's going to be, I think he's almost overqualified for the Oren Burks, first linebacker off the bench and special teams ace role. So again, the fact that Jihaad Campbell is penciled in my opinion, for the week 1 starting lineup, he has worked hard. He has earned that. It was not given to him. And yeah, no, I think it's exciting. I think his upside at that position is just really apparent after watching the last few weeks.
It is very odd to read about how the Eagles' linebacking depth is excellent. And, you know, we talked about over the past few years, there's probably not 64 starting level linebackers in the NFL. And they might have 3, they might have 4. It seems like Trot doesn't really have a path to playing time, but the idea that he's at least in the right place every time, I've seen a lot of Eagles linebackers over the past few years who have been in the wrong place, who are playing every down. Yep. So it is a little bit weird. I wonder, do you think there's a chance that they might trade from a position of strength if they have other roles on the roster? I don't know. I'm just kind of making that up now that we're talking about it.
It's a good thought. I feel like this position group in particular, none of them have enough like cachet necessarily where I feel like the value is going to warrant a trade.
Makes sense.
Now, like I think Nakobe Dean, that is an interesting conversation next offseason, is like, you know, is Jeremiah Trotter Jr. ready to kind of step into that Nakobe Dean role? And if not, you know, what do you think about Smile Mondin as that third linebacker? I think that they might have a hard decision to make this time next offseason, but yeah, I don't know if there's enough trade value for any of those guys quite yet.
I mean, poor Nakobe, you know,
I know, right?
Whenever he comes back, you know, I'm sure the Eagles are telling him, hey, just like take your time. We want you back when you're fully healthy, but you know, is he going to play? Is he? And he was very good. Now you're right that Zach Bond was the more dynamic linebacker. He was the one who was really kind of keeping everybody together. But,
yeah, but
Nakobe
played
that
rock solid.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. He was rock solid. And yeah, he's definitely gotten like the Wally Pipp treatment a little bit here, where he's just been sidelined. It looks like he does his rehab assignments before practice, and it looks like he's making good progress. But yeah, he's watching just like the rest of us, watching Jihaad Campbell kind of run away with this opportunity.
Poor Nakobe. Love Nakobe.
That's a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a bummer that he got hurt. I mean, Oren Burks, though, what a job by him stepping up. Okay. So I'm happy that, and I think this is a breath of fresh air on this podcast, starting with something positive, right? You know, starting that the linebacking core, Jihaad Campbell, and the depth have changed your mind in a positive way. All right. Now it's time for me to rein you back in a little bit. What has changed your mind the most in a negative way? And then I'll let you ask me a couple.
You know, I went into training camp in the Kelee Ringo hive.
Ooh.
So, and it's been a tough experience the last couple of weeks for Kelee Ringo and the people in the Kelee Ringo hive. So yeah, I think the outside cornerback job stands out as the most. It's just the fact that you feel worse about it now than you did when you went into training camp, because nothing has changed. Like nobody has run away with the job. You know, going into training camp, I thought Kelee Ringo I thought they would give Kelee Ringo every chance to win this job. I think they really kind of have, and he just has not been able to run away with it. He has been chaotic in a way that you don't want your second outside corner to be chaotic. He's been giving up big plays. He has not been able to make routine plays on the ball. He's kind of got that Ronald Darby, you know, trait where and that was a point that Bo made. I don't want to take credit for his point here, just in case he's watching at home. I don't want to jump in the chat, you know, saying, how dare you? It's like I know the guy, right? But yeah, he's got that Ronald Darby trait where he's in good position, but isn't making plays on the ball. Now, the problem with that is the reason I was in the Kelee Ringo hive is because I do think that he has a very, I think his ceiling is incredibly high. He has the physical attributes to be a rock solid cornerback. He does not have the technique, and he doesn't have really the instincts yet to really flourish in that role. And I think we've seen that this summer. And yeah, I think it's I think if you're asking me like, what are some of my major concerns going into the season for the Eagles, outside corner is at or near the top of the list, because it is a weak link system. It is something that, you know, that second corner is going to get targeted a lot. Quinyon Mitchell didn't get thrown at as a rookie, and he looks even better this summer than he did last year. So yeah, it's a major concern. And I think Kelee Ringo is really kind of at the fore of that concern, because I think the Eagles kind of wanted him to take that next step this summer.
Wrote about that today in the newsletter, the weak link theory. I think the Eagles secondary, from everything you guys have been talking about, it seems like it has the chance to be like one of the best test cases, because Quinyon Mitchell, it sounds like I'm thinking like this is like Darrelle Revis in his prime. Just you know, the fact that he is apparently winning one-on-one reps pretty regularly against AJ Brown, that's impossible That should not be possible. So you have one guy who's completely ascendant. You have a guy in Cooper DeJean who, you could just look at his age. He's 22 years old. He's just going to continually get better. And people laughed at the number 60 placement on that top 100 list. I kind of laughed at it a little bit too, but still, like, he's super valuable in terms of being able to stay in nickel and also defend the run at a high level. You have Reed, and also you can listen to Exciting Mics wherever you get your podcast, by the way. You feel very good about Reed as well. Those other two spots, particularly cornerback 2, because I think we knew safety. All right, that could be a little dicey. You have no idea what's going on. The fact that cornerback 2 is completely unsettled, nobody has really taken that job. I wonder if we're going to see how valuable is it to have those star players in your secondary when you also have some weak links. Kyle's over there. He's about to do the Sixers podcast. In basketball, he calls it the Hunt the Bozo offense. Now, I wonder if Kelee Ringo or whoever wins that pillow fight at CB2 is the Hunt the Bozo player. By the way, too, I should also mention, like, Vic Fangio is still here, and he's going to be able to scheme. He's going to try to scheme around this. We just talked about Jihaad Campbell and Zach Bond. They're also here to help out and kind of pass off some of the receivers in those zones. Like you said, I mean, Zach Bond, the fact that he's at a 200 or 300 graduate course level. Like, again, he's been in school for, 12 months. Yeah. The fact that he was doing that in the Super Bowl at a high level is just what an outlier career path that he's had. But yeah, I would say if the Eagles season goes wrong, that's one of my big worries, is that does it matter as much to have the top players if players, let's say 9 through 11 are weak spots, and hopefully we don't have to find out. Hopefully Kelee Ringo, like you said, he has the tools to get better. Real quick, EJ, this is a pretty dumb thought, but it's just in my head. So, you mentioned things in the recesses of your mind. Yeah. Kelee Ringo, from everything I read, it seems like he's in okay position when the ball is thrown. And then when the ball is thrown, he's like a Madden guy who tries to use user picks. Yeah. But he stinks at it. Yeah. But he stinks, and he jumps out of the way. And by the way, that is exactly what happened to him on the Jamar Chase touchdown. Yeah. The one play I did see from him. Maybe just like tell him, just don't worry about the ball. Just don't worry about the ball. Just try and hit the guy. I don't know. I think the fact that he is having so much trouble when the ball is in the air, just worry about the guy, man.
Yeah, I think his problem is a lot of the times he's not locating it at all. So he's just looking at the receiver as the receiver brings the pass in. So I think it's a technique thing, because again, like, Christian Parker, the Eagles defensive backs coach, he has talked about ball skills come from being in good position, being where you're supposed to be, and then being able to be free to locate the ball. I think whether it's because he's not in good position or he doesn't trust his position, he's just not willing to get his head around. That's always like the classic thing, right? He's like, oh, he didn't get his head around. So I think in theory, like, you maybe wish that he would just like kind of play through the receiver every time the ball gets there. But I don't know. I think that Christian Parker probably would disagree with us on this one.
Yeah, well, look, I'm just saying, if it gets so bad that you don't have any like viable starting quarterback, it'd be like, Kelee, just play through the ball. You get a couple pass interferences per game, but there won't be any run after the catch.
He's had a share of pass interferences as well.
Okay,
yeah. And to your earlier point about like being able to scheme ways around it, it's hard to scheme up an outside cornerback. Right. Those guys are on an island. The safety position, we can talk about that. I think there are ways you can insulate whoever is out there, but outside corner, that is Hunt the Bozo territory for sure.
Well, so that's one of my biggest fears for the year. And I wanted Kelee Ringo to succeed. I thought, in the middle of that Matt Patricia mess at the end of the 2023 season, I thought Kelee Ringo, I was a little bit interested in his tape. He had some good reps. I thought that Seahawks game in particular, I thought he did some pretty good stuff. But yeah, it seems like it has been a little bit of a tough camp for him. All right, we'll figure it out. I mean, hey, look, do you think that it could be a case where struggling in camp sometimes can be misleading? I'm trying to give the optimist fan take right now. The Patrick Robinson example is always the one that I give, where he was a disaster the entire camp. And part of it was the Eagles passing offense was great that year. And he was also playing the wrong position as well. So Kelee Ringo doesn't have that benefit. They're playing him where they want to play him in the regular season.
No, I think there is an argument to be made that you go into the season with either him or McWilliams just because they have upside, theoretically at least. Yeah. Adoree Jackson, I guess he does also have upside to settle into the new scheme. Jacorian Bennett, same thing.
That's competency.
Right,
if you go with that.
But those two guys, especially Kelee, there still is a ceiling there for him. And, is there a world where He has like maybe a similar path to, I mean, I wouldn't say Cooper DeJean because Cooper DeJean didn't play, but the Eagles secondary as a whole, if you remember at the beginning of last season, they did not look as good as they obviously developed into, especially tackling wise. They struggled a lot. So is there a world where Kelee Ringo gets a few games under his belt, settles in, and starts to look more like the player that the Eagles and I think a lot of us envisioned he could be? It's a risky proposition to make. I think the Eagles probably wish that they already had an answer at outside corner. I think pushing it into the regular season, it's a daunting task. So, yeah, if you ask me, I think that McWilliams is starting to look more and more like a real option at that position. I just think, you look at the draft pedigree, you look at, the players that he's competing with, and maybe that gives you pause. But honestly, this is the reality of building a top-heavy roster. You have to find day 3 players, undrafted players. Reed Blankenship is a great example. You have to find those guys, and they have to be competent starters for you. If you're going to have the Zach Bonds and, eventually the Jalen Carters and the Nolan Smiths, if you're going to have these high-level players that make a lot of money, you have to be able to balance it with some diamonds in the rough, like maybe a McWilliams.
Would you say that McWilliams? I think tomorrow McWilliams, he's one of the players I'm most interested in watching, especially if they play him on the outside.
Yeah, I think they will. He's played on the outside the last couple of practices, all of the joint practices. It's a huge game for him. I mean, he's going to get a chance here to really enter that competition. I think he's already kind of on the fringes of it. As long as it stays wide open, I think it really opens the door for him to kind of like make himself a real contender for it.
I just want him to be good because of his name, McWilliams. That's a great name. All right, let's take a break and hear from a few of our friends, and then EJ on the other side will ask me a few questions about how I am feeling. And first, let's talk about Rocket Money. Guys, with prices going up on just about everything lately, being smart with your money isn't just a good idea, it is essential. But managing subscriptions, tracking spending, and cutting costs can feel overwhelming. Lucky for you, Rocket Money takes the guesswork out of it so you can easily make smart decisions. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. They have over 5 million users and have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Download the Rocket Money app and enter the show name, PHLY, Philadelphia Eagles Podcast, in the survey so they know that we sent you. And don't wait. Download the Rocket Money app today and tell them that you heard about them from us. So guys, stop wasting money on the things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
The Eagles season is fast approaching, which really marks the end of what was an unforgettable summer for the Smiths, Rich. We hiked through Yosemite National Park and had plenty of quality time at home with the dogs, hosting cookouts, going for evening walks to the nearby park, and of course, getting some lawn mowing in, a little lawn mowing action. The common denominator for all those summer adventures, we wanted our clothes to feel comfortable. Everybody knows how bad it feels when your clothing is a limiting factor for an otherwise memorable day or trip. Whether you're going to the gym or spending a night out, you want breathable clothes that keep you cool, comfortable, and stylish, which is perfect for the summer. That's where Mack Weldon comes in. Their new tech linen combines the easy charm of classic linen with cool Max technology. Explore shirts like the one that Rich has on. Handsome Rich has one on today. Shorts, hoodies, and more at MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order with the code PHLY. I've got a big shipment on the way, and I can't wait to try all the shorts, pants, and shirts I've ordered because they not only look great, but they look like exactly what I need to get me through those toasty Eagles training camp practices. They look like regular clothes, but feel like the latest in modern comfort. Get breathable clothes you can feel comfortable in all summer. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order of $125 or more with the promo code PHLY. That's MackWeldon.com. Promo code PHLY.
Love a Mack Weldon. And before we get going again, I want to remind you of the PHLY and Philly Sports Trips NHL road trip. We are going to California for the ultimate Flyers getaway. They are taking diehards for the California takeover with Flyers legend John Leclerc, not the Claire. From March 17th to the 22nd, we're hitting the West Coast for 2 huge games. First in Anaheim, then the LA Kings at Crypto.com Arena. Your package includes optional round-trip direct flights from Philly, a 5-night stay at the beautiful Sanborn Santa Monica, group tickets to both games, a Flyers watch party, and an exclusive meet and greet with John Leclerc. Plus, the Philly Sports Trips crew, they will be there to handle every detail, so you can just enjoy the sun, the sights, and of course, the hockey. This is the California vacation that every Flyers fan dreams of, with a couple of wins. Well, we'll see about that to top it off. Spots are limited, so book your trip today at allphly.com/events. Okay, welcome back to the PHLY Eagles podcast, presented by Xfinity, Dudhat, and TrueMark Financial Credit Union. So you went to Yosemite, huh?
I did.
I went to Yellowstone a month ago. We're hitting all the national parks.
I called Yosemite Yellowstone for months before our trip. I didn't realize the difference between the two. So
one's in California. The one thing about Yellowstone that I didn't know, and this is so stupid, it's huge. I mean, it's so big, man. It's in Wyoming. It's in Montana. A little bit of it is in Idaho. And I was with a group of friends, actually. And I remember we kind of had certain spots to go to. You know, there was an itinerary laid out for all of us, which was fantastic. And for me, it was easy to follow. So we went to the first place and I was like, this is cool. We saw some hot springs and, a national park, Anyway, we went to the second spot, which was Old Faithful. I was like, okay, this will be like a 20-minute drive. No. Hour 40 away from where we were in Montana. So you had to throw on a little bit of a podcast or something to get you through
on the PHLY Eagles show, right?
Yeah, well, unfortunately I was out. I had already listened to all of them. Anyway, Yellowstone is a beautiful place. The hiking was great, and get some Mack Weldon too.
I honestly, and this is to show how much I need the Mack Weldon shipment here. We did the Mist Trail at Yosemite, which is like a waterfall. You basically are walking up the side of a waterfall, which is really great experience. And my in-laws packed these ponchos to keep us all dry.
Smart.
I'm a bigger guy, so whenever somebody gives me something like that, I'm always a little bit, is it going to fit? So I trusted in the poncho and
trust the poncho.
TTP, yes. And they gave me. So they said that they had saved these ponchos from when they had taken my wife and her little sister to Niagara Falls. They probably went on this trip when they were little kids. They give me the poncho. Everybody else has got
this. It's a much older poncho.
Yeah, it's probably like a 15-year-old poncho.
Okay.
Everybody else is wearing the poncho, and my in-laws, they're smaller people, so they're all fine. And I'm looking at it like it looks like it'll fit, and I put this thing on, I can't get it past here.
It's like a bib.
Oh my goodness! And I'm like ripping holes in it to try and get it to fit. And at some point I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to suck it up and deal with this here. So I take the poncho off. And I'm like soaking wet by the time we get to the top here, or the top of this waterfall. And then at some point, like while we were sitting at the top, my mother-in-law goes, I think I gave you my youngest daughter's poncho from 20 years ago. Like the biggest guy on the trip, I gave you the 10-year-old poncho, the 10-year-old's poncho. So this is like a kid poncho. And it's like, at least it made me feel a little bit better about myself that, I wasn't like it was the poncho's fault, not my fault.
It was the poncho's fault.
But still,
it wasn't your fault.
It was definitely a tough look. I was not wearing a nice breathable Mack Weldon shirt. I was wearing a shirt that was probably 40 pounds by the time we got to the top of that waterfall.
I love that poncho has seen just some of our country's greatest natural wonders. Niagara Falls, Yosemite. Can we take it to the Grand Canyon? I don't know.
No, you can't take that poncho anywhere.
Is it done?
It is, yeah.
It's toast?
That poncho is retired, courtesy of me ripping holes in it to try and get it to fit.
well, rest in peace to that poncho.
Yes.
It
lived a good life.
It lived a good life. On a related note, I had this for a little later in the pod, but since we're talking about being outside, here's a question for you. It's pretty hot outside today.
Yes.
And as somebody who has been to some of these Eagles training camp practices, they can get pretty hot. There's not a lot of shade. Now, when I have covered these practices, EJ, I have been in a support role, kind of helping out, maybe doing a specific feature on one of the players or coaches on the team. So when I was trying to keep cool, which was very difficult, I could hang out next to the bleachers. I really only had to focus on one or two players. Yeah. But you have to write down notes for the entire practice. You have to post them on the site afterwards. and let all of the Eagles fans know what the heck happened at practice that day. So what are your tips for staying cool on a 90-degree day with no cloud in the sky while also having to pay attention and kind of be close to the action?
You know, there are veteran moves that I don't use enough, which is, I like to call it the Damo towel. My former colleague, Paul Domowitz, would bring like a cold, wet towel and put it on his neck.
That's a strong move.
Or it would just be a dry towel that you could wipe sweat from. And I've always said this is the year I'm breaking out the Damo towel, but I haven't done it yet. I'd say the tricks of the trade that I like to use, maybe during a special teams period, you kind of duck into one of the tents that they have for the fans. You go to the cooler. They have the coolers for the water. You just dunk your hand as far into it as you can.
Wow.
And you grab a bottle, but really what you want to do is you want to get your hand really cold and then just rub
the bottle is the water is secondary.
Yeah, you want a cold hand on the back of your neck. That is my number one, can fix everything at training camp. Beyond that, it's a lot of stuff that I wish that I did, but I don't have the bravery to do. Like the bucket hat. I think a bucket hat would be amazing at training camp, but I just can't do the bucket hat.
Why not?
I've been accused of having main character syndrome at times, and I feel like everyone would be looking at me if I had the bucket hat. They'd be like, "What's up with this guy and his bucket hat?"
You're tall, so it would be everybody would see your bucket hat if you were one of the not as tall beat writers. I'm not mentioning anybody in particular.
Then you see somebody like Mike Quick walking around with the bucket hat, and it's well, that guy,
nicest guy ever, Mike Quick.
So shout out to Mike Quick.
All right. I think you should try the bucket hat, though. I think if it keeps you cool. I love the reach the arm in a full bucket. So do people, Eagles fans probably know who you are. And does anybody be do any of those fans be like, EJ, what are you doing?
I think the tents are reporter friendly. Now, listen, I'm not in there getting some Chickies and Pete's French fries or something like that, but I try to make my trips into there very brief. It's really just to get my hand as cold as possible, as quickly as possible.
Is it one hand or two?
It's usually just one hand for me. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear this. So if I ever cover another camp, I will be doing the move that I am now dubbing the EJ.
The EJ. Yeah. Just submerging half my body into the cold ice.
Yeah, I try and do it, and I just fall completely in. It's one of those where my feet are hanging out. It's just comical. Yeah. All right. What do you got for me?
All right. So I think this is topical to what we were talking about before, which is if you could get into a time machine and go back to the eve of free agency, and let's say you ran into Howie Roseman on the side of, walking maybe from your favorite restaurant or something like that, right?
He's a foodie too.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and I feel like you're kind of a foodie as well.
Nah, not really.
You have good taste in restaurants. I'll give you credit for that. So let's say that you run into Howie Roseman out to dinner, and you say, Howie, I am from the future. Do not let blank leave in free agency. Which player are you using this golden opportunity to salvage for these 2025, 2026 Eagles?
At the time, I actually might have said Mekhi Becton because I would have said, why mess with a good thing? That offensive line was awesome last year. Mekhi Becton was almost definitely your weak link on that offensive line, but he's still one of the best run blockers from the guard position that I've ever seen. It's going to be a pretty reasonable salary ask, but just from reading up on the training camp, my guy, Tyler Steen, who has filled in, done a decent job over the past few years. There's been ups and downs for sure. I don't want to say
he's looked good this summer for sure.
Yeah. And he has stepped up, and it seems like he's sort of the anti-Kelee, where he's sort of taken the position, which good, by the way, because there's no real offensive line depth behind him.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned this yesterday, and I think this is probably the right call. And I think when I'm running into Howie on the street in this hypothetical scenario, I'm going to say, Howie, you spent a lot of money at this restaurant that you were just in. I mean, you're a foodie. You're really, I'm sure you were buying up the place, this fancy place. In NFL terms, I'm not going to ask you to get the main course on the menu. I'm just going to ask you to get one of your depth players back for next season. And I'm stealing this from yesterday's pod because you guys mentioned it. But I think Isaiah Rodgers would be the guy.
So you go Isaiah Rodgers and not Darius Slay like Bo went.
Well, the thing with Darius Slay is that he was awesome last year when he played. He is a modern marvel, I will say.
Yeah.
I am a little scared of that he is now 34 years old. At some point, there's going to be some decline. And maybe it's not this year because he was still an awesome player for all of last year. We talk about the weak link theory. When Darius Slay is in your secondary, he's not your weak link. I actually think CJ GJ was the he had to be the weak link because the other guys were all good. But CJ is also a very good player as well. Darius Slay. What did Darius Slay sign for in the offseason?
It was 1 year, $8 million, and then Rodgers was just slightly underneath that. So they were very similar in terms of the cap hit. I don't think you're getting savings from one or the other. It's really just which one you prefer as a player.
That's tough. That's tough because obviously Slay.
1 year, $10 million for Darius Slay.
If Slay is the guy that we saw last year, then that's a no-brainer. But recent Eagles history have shown that when you have those cornerbacks in their 30s. 1 year they can be awesome. James Bradbury the next year should not be playing football probably.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one, man. I'm going to say Isaiah Rodgers just because he's a younger player, and at that time too, you would say, look, if Kelee Ringo is going to win this job, Isaiah Rodgers is not somebody that has to necessarily start. There's not going to be an issue in your locker room. So if Kelee Ringo is going to take that job, he's going to earn it from Isaiah Rodgers. But Isaiah Rodgers isn't going to cause a fuss if he is not starting as well. So I'm going to still say the gambler, Isaiah Rodgers, but I think you do make a good point. If you have Darius Slay from last year, then sure, that would be the guy that you would pick.
Yeah, and even last year, Darius Slay played 81% of the Eagles' defensive snaps, which is fewer than you would have imagined based off of his
I feel like you want to get out early on that. It's like that was awesome. Darius Slay is a world champion. I have nothing but fond things to say about him, except when he starts podcasting with Micah Parsons every once in a while. But besides that, Darius Slay, just why don't we leave on a good note and let's see this. Let's have the Steelers find out what a 34-year-old cornerback can do. 81% of the snaps. That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, because you think about it, the reason we know so much about Isaiah Rodgers is because Darius Slay did miss some time last year. So yeah, and I think that is probably the cautionary tale there. I think I lean toward Isaiah Rodgers as well. Going into training camp, maybe I think I still would have leaned corner probably. So I think Isaiah Rodgers is the answer. If you told me that he was the weak link in that secondary, I'd probably feel a lot more confident about the secondary.
And as CDP points out, bringing Slay back, there's too many podcasters in that secondary. Quinyon Mitchell is the silent assassin.
Quinyon, he's probably he's lowest on the power rankings of most likely to start a podcast. I mean, he seems like he does have a personality that comes out every once in a while, but he is a quiet guy for sure.
I made a point to watch that Exciting Mike's episode. I was like, I got to hear this guy talk.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah. I mean, he'll talk, but it's just, he's definitely low key in personality.
That's good. Well, he certainly seems confident though. There's a quiet swagger, and it seems like he has certainly backed that up in this training camp. All right. Why don't we do one more from you to me before we get to a few more of our friends?
Do you care when you are reading through these practice observations and you're, scrolling through Twitter to see what's been happening at practice? Do you care about Jalen Hurts' performances day to day?
Great question. No. I think we've graduated from that where, am I interested in it? If I want to hear, there are some details in there. It seems like maybe about a week ago, he was throwing some good back shoulder passes to AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. That interests me a little bit because that hasn't been, he would do it with AJ a decent amount, but I think that's an area where he can probably get better and utilize that play more. And I'm sure that's something that, Jalen Hurts, whatever you think about him, he is a competitive psychopath. And I mean that in all of the best ways, right? He clearly is not going to rest on his laurels in winning a Super Bowl. Has he frustrated me as times as the Eagles quarterback? Absolutely. But I do think to the victors go the spoils. And when you have the two games that he had in the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, it's not like we're going to give him a pass if he stinks the joint up in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season. But I can't even feign interest in his training camp performance. Oh, Myles Garrett flustered him a little bit in the Browns secondary. Doesn't matter, right? He's already done this on the biggest stage. I think he deserves the credit. So that's a good question. My answer would be no on that. So I'm gonna turn that around to you. The one guy that I find kind of interesting in these training camp observations, there's a couple. I'm gonna save one for after the break. But in terms of just not really caring about what he does, the fact that Saquon Barkley gets mentioned as the 8th note in a lot of these training camp observations is kind of funny to me because he was probably the best offensive player in the NFL last year. But also, what the heck are you going to learn from a training camp where He's not getting tackled. You can't really take a lot from the running game. What is Saquon Barkley doing during these practices?
He does a lot of talking, is what I would say.
That's great. Yeah, good for him. I love that.
For him. Like you hit it on the head. It's hard. What makes Saquon such a special player is exactly what they don't do in training camp. He is not evading tackles, which is again his like. Obviously, you can kind of get a gauge of how was his vision getting upfield, and how many yards did he gain before that initial tackle, but. The reason that he brings so much value to the Eagles is because he's going to take what the offensive line gives him, and then he's going to make a guy miss and get another 4 or 5 yards or even more than that. So he's looked like himself this summer. And again, what has he been doing? He has been telling players, you would not have tackled me there. And I think
by the way, he's absolutely, it's fair. Yeah. I mean, like,
he has earned the right to tell them.
Absolutely earned the right after some of the runs from last season. So why don't you give me the power rankings? Because it seems like, he's been a good teammate. He's sort of been a rah-rah guy, especially when like the third teamers are in there and they're playing against each other on a goal line situation. The offense scores. It seems like he's been very involved. It feels like he and Jalen Carter have been two of the guys. Is there anybody else that's sort of loud, sort of tries to rally the rest of the team around them?
Yeah, those are the two big ones for sure. I feel like AJ and Quinion used to be really good for trash talk, but I think Quinion has gotten to a place now where like he doesn't have to talk trash. He's not the little brother anymore. Like they are kind of more on each other's level than they were last summer.
Love that.
I would say that you kind of do mention it. You don't notice Cooper DeJean talking. You notice someone reacting to something Cooper DeJean said is what I would say. It's what's happening. Like
I wonder why that is.
He's saying something like kind of sly and under his breath where it's not demonstrative, but then they are kind of saying something back to him. So I would say those are the three. Jordan Davis like talks a lot at practice. It's not necessarily trash talk. I maybe would categorize it in the like Brandon Graham, like I'm calling out what play you're about to run, or like I'm just kind of like laughing while I'm telling you something. Category of
that's sort of just more part of his personality.
I think he definitely has a big personality on the field. There was actually I've seen him call out the Eagles plays before. While the offense breaks the huddle and comes up to the line, he will try and get in some people's heads for sure.
With Jalen Carter, has he always been like that, or has that been a change this training camp?
It's definitely something I think he's intentionally trying to do more of, both the trash talk and also just like a leadership role. He's talked about players, coaches, really just across the organization, people telling him, you are going to have to step more into this role. It's a young defense. It's a remarkably young defense, honestly. When you look across the board, I think they have 9 or 10 players who are going to be under the age of 25 or 25 or younger.
Not according to ESPN, by the way. Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
So, they are obviously a very young group, and I think that Jalen Carter realizes that they are going to look to him a lot next season. I think he's trying to embrace that, whether it is kind of like some of the more like I guess like corny stuff, like, oh, I'm going to run to the end zone with the third team just to be a part of the group. And then I think some of the other stuff is I think he knows that in big moments, they're going to be looking to him to kind of set the tone. I think they lost some of that with CJ Gardner-Johnson, that, tone setter, that swagger. And I think that Jalen Carter is trying to kind of maintain that level for the defense this year.
And also, after this season ends, he is eligible to receive a lot of money.
Yeah, we saw Drew Rosenhaus at practice a few days ago, and I feel like that's not a coincidence, hanging out with Jalen Carter and talking with Howie Roseman.
Is Jalen Carter his only client on the Eagles, or does he have some other people?
He's his most high-profile one for sure. I mean, Darius Slay, who just left, was also a Drew Rosenhaus guy.
Man, I don't love Drew Rosenhaus, but I got to say, give him credit for longevity, man. Yeah. He's been in the game for quite a while here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Been around for a while.
All right, let's do one more ad break, and then I will have a few more questions for EJ. Maybe some about the guy I'm most excited to watch in tomorrow's preseason game. And let's talk about Parx Casino. Guys, whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always another way to win on the BetParx online casino app. Check out brand new casino games like Huff and More Puff and Fire Blaze Sky Queen, a BetParx exclusive, the only app to use when you play all of your favorite casino games in the palm of your hand. You can play blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and hot online slots like Cash Eruption, 88 Fortunes, and Cleopatra online slots. New users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Go to betparx.com and download the app right now and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for Bet Parks. You love to play. You love to win. You bet Parks. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Next, we have to tell you about the good people at Ford and their legendary F-Series, the best-selling trucks in America for 48 years running. The F-150 blends work-ready toughness with modern-day tech and luxury, offering 6 powertrain options, including a hybrid and a fully electric Lightning model. Or you could go with the 3.5-liter Power Boost hybrid V6 with 430 horsepower and amazing towing capacity. Speaking of that towing capacity, it's best in class with a 14,000-pound limit depending on configuration. These trucks also come with the Pro Power on board, so you can turn your truck into a mobile generator, which is perfect for job sites or tailgates this football season. You know, Rich, I owned a truck when I was in college, and that thing rusted like crazy with these Pennsylvania winter roads. But that's why Ford have gone to a military-grade aluminum alloy body, which is tough, lightweight, and corrosion resistant. The F-150 offers plenty of creature comforts as well, from Ford Blue Cruise for hands-free highway driving on certain trims to max recline seats that offer nearly 180 degrees of recline, which is great for naps or breaks between road trips. You also get a 360-degree camera system, which is great for trailering, parking, and off-roading. The F-150 comes available in so many ways. You can get a regular cab, super crew, and select a bed length that fits your needs. For more information, visit your local Ford store.
You look like a truck guy.
I think that's a compliment. I don't know. Okay, yeah. There's pros and cons with the pickup truck. You're gonna have people who are gonna ask you to move all the time, but then you kind of reconnect with people, and you can be the person that shows up for the people in your life, is what I would say.
That is tough. Yeah, people love putting their couch or their mattress or whatever they have to move. If you're the first person that they would call.
I think my default setting is helpful, so it's not a problem for me. But yeah,
absolutely. Okay, welcome back to the PHLY Eagles Show, presented by Xfinity, Dudhat, and TrueMark. EJ, this is the question I've been wanting to ask. Oh, I guess we do have some super chats in there, as Julia just put up. From SRG, do I have some jungle juice in that coverage? At one point in my life, SRG, yes, I did. Today, nah, I just got some water. I think we ran out of our bottled water. EJ picked.
I didn't steal this. I brought this from home. This was BYOB.
EJ brought his own water here. So I am just drinking some beautiful Philadelphia tap water. But at one point, did I have some jungle juice for a few years? Absolutely. Yeah. And I do love the idea that people thought I was actually, getting real drunk on a Friday afternoon, like Landon Dickerson and the fellas at practice the other day. There's nothing like a light domestic on a 90-degree South Philadelphia day. No, this is just water, though. What else we got? From Michael Gledgoud, how torqued up are you guys to see Will Shipley let loose? He had a nice run in that first game.
He's had a good camp. Honestly, like coming into the summer, I don't think he had necessarily like the running back 2 job locked up. If he had asked me how I felt about him taking that Kenny Gainwell role, I know it's not a huge role in the offense, but it is important. You get some key snaps. He looks ready for that role for sure. So I don't know if I'd say I'm torqued up, but I think he could have a good game for sure.
Speaking of Ford, get torqued up. What else are we? Yeah, Will Shipley, I mean, that was a nice run that he had in the first game, but that was an extremely well-blocked play. How is he looking? I mean, he's probably going to be the third down back whenever Saquon gets out. I mean, calling him the third down back, it's like, well, Saquon's probably playing a lot of third downs.
Yeah, I think he has looked his best catching passes out of the backfield, which is going to be an important part of that role. Kenny Gainwell, when they drafted him, that was supposed to be his role, was like the pass catching, backfield threat type of player. He was actually like surprisingly okay in like tight, short yardage situations, goal line situations. Felt like he had a good feel for those inside runs, which wasn't really befitting the type of player you expected you were getting there. I think Will Shipley does fit that bill as like a receiving back more so.
I enjoyed the Kenny Gainwell experience last year. I thought, again, he was not used very often, so he probably had a decent amount of juice because Saquon was just soaking up so much of the offense. But when he got in there, he made a couple guys miss on some key third downs.
He's like that guy who joins the 5-on-5 4 games in.
Oh, yeah. You're ready to go. Love that.
Yeah. It's like the first time you have to make contact with that guy, it's like, oh, you have a little bit more energy than me.
4 games in, too. I'm not crossing. I'm running 3-point line to 3-point line, too. I'm giving you nothing.
I can't shoot, so I got to get a little bit closer.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then you have less energy in the offense.
Yeah.
Be interesting to hear. I mean, again, we've had a lot of basketball talk on this podcast with ZB's intramural. Hope we stay abreast of what's going on in the wherever he plays intramural
Bo's
basketball.
not gonna like that you just mentioned ZB.
No,
but, Bo's not here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's a fair point. That's on me. We'll be better tomorrow, as somebody who I don't know said. CDP asks, can you make friends without ever being vulnerable? I think the answer to that's no.
Yeah, not.
Well, it depends on what level of friends.
You're not going to make worthwhile, like real true friends without
lifelong friends.
Yeah, and that's what you want, CDP.
Yeah. Matthew Greenwood on the outside. Who do you like to make the team better? Oh, this is an EJ question. Darius Cooper as the 6th wide receiver, or Perry Nickerson or Tariq Castro Fields as the 6th cornerback?
I'm going to power rank them. And I'll also give you a little tier skip here. Darius Cooper, tier 1, I think he's on the team. I think he could be the 5th wide receiver. I think he's had that strong of a training camp. From there, I think.
Do you think he's going to be the 5th wide receiver? Well, just as of today. Maybe he's got a little work to do, but let's say you got to do the roster today.
If him and Anais Smith both make the team, I still think that Darius Cooper offers more to them offensively. So I guess to answer your question, yes, I think he'd be the 5th wide receiver in that regard.
As Fran talked about the other day, I hope whatever he offers, though, is not bubble screens.
No, he's an interesting player. I mean, do you want to do the Darius Cooper thing?
What is the Darius Cooper thing? Oh, well.
I want to just, wax poetic about Darius Cooper.
Well, we do have a diehard sale going on right now at allphly.com. And if you sign up for that discounted price, my guy over here has his first feature of the week. He's already writing features 1 week in. The man from Tarleton State, Darius Cooper. What did you find out about him, EJ?
Yeah, so I talked to his college coach at Tarleton State, Todd Witten.
Where is Tarleton State?
It is a few hours outside of the DFW area. It's in Stevensville, Texas.
Okay.
Small town in Texas. What I learned is that Darius Cooper is kind of a rarity in that he was an FCS standout with great grades. There was really no limiting factor for him to be in the FCS, especially after a breakout redshirt sophomore season. He had a really good game against TCU where he was the lone bright spot for Tarleton State. And his head coach even thought, there's no way we're going to keep this guy. He is going to transfer to a big school. He had plenty of opportunities to do so. Darius Cooper decided to stay at Tarleton State. I think he trusted the program that he was in and felt he owed them that loyalty. From there, though, he goes undrafted in the draft, and I think that's kind of the cost of being at an FCS school. But the result is that he kind of is one of these diamonds in the rough who flew under the radar, didn't get invited to the combine. He was a 0-star recruit, and he is an unconventional receiver.
Brutal, by the way. Give him 1 star.
I know, right?
Come on, 1 star?
Yeah, you can't even find him in the...
That doesn't signify that you think the player is amazing. Let's give him 1 star.
Can't even find him in the recruiting database. He had 1 offer from Tarleton State coming out of high school. He was a dual threat quarterback in high school. So
0 star, you're telling the player stop playing football, basically.
Well, fortunately for Darius Cooper, he didn't take their advice. He is an unconventional receiver. I feel like 20 years ago, he would have played running back, but he is built like a running back. He's 5'11". He's almost 220 pounds. But the thing about him is he's got long arms and strong hands. And that's something that even Devontae Smith called this guy a freak of nature, which is high praise coming from Devontae Smith. But he's got a combination of long arms and strong hands. He can make plays down the field because of those things. And yeah, I do think that this is really... I mean, again, I think sometimes through training camp we can overstate things, but I do think that this guy has a lot more upside than what you would have expected based off of his player profile. I think that the Eagles may have a player here that is going to have an NFL career kind of from out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I thought what we saw from him in that first preseason game was awesome, and that's some good background from you. You know who that reminds me a little bit of? Quinyon Mitchell. Now, obviously, Quinyon was playing Division I football. I think more people have heard of Toledo than Tarleton State, but Quinyon Mitchell was in the same spot where I think he could have gotten a lot of NIL money. Yeah. Wasn't Nick Saban on the record saying he was our top guy?
Yes, Nick Saban was on the record saying that, and I talked to Jason Candle, his head coach. Maybe this is a trend that I'm developing here, talking to these guys' coaches, and yeah, Jason Candle talked about the fact that Quinyon turned down opportunities to go elsewhere because of a loyalty to Toledo. Now, his situation was a little different. He had the gray shirt coming out of high school, which basically he was not academically eligible. And I think he wanted to repay the loyalty that Toledo showed in him back to the school. Again, Darius Cooper, everything you hear about him, it's kind of funny. It's like
he's even more loyal.
Well, it's just like every Eagles coach has to slip in that he is also a great person. You know, it's like they can't help themselves. They gush about like he's a high character guy, hard worker, very mature. And I think you are kind of seeing him take this opportunity in stride, probably because of those attributes.
Well, I'm excited to watch him play tomorrow. It seems like, yeah, I mean, he could be the 5th wide receiver, and he might even graduate next year if Jahan Dotson gets a nice offer and moves elsewhere with Johnny Wilson getting some blocking snaps as well last year. I love Jalen Hurts targeting Johnny Wilson in practice. Like, whoa,
yeah,
wow.
Because I said it more than anybody. Like, yeah, Johnny Wilson's jump ball ability is great, but is Jalen Hurts going to throw him those passes? And then Jalen Hurts threw him that pass. So I stand corrected.
I was saying in the Super Bowl when he had that brutal drop, it's like the guy didn't even like. He was like, "Wait, Jalen Hurts threw me the football." I know it was the easiest pass in the world to catch, but you know, it's a new experience for me. So, yeah, that it's good to see Johnny Wilson. It seems like he wasn't making a ton of plays at the beginning of training camp, from what I was reading, but you know, in that first preseason game, he was really good with Tanner McKee. Okay, we're going to talk about Tanner McKee in a little bit. It might be an overtime thing for us, but let's get to the Dudhat Dental Bright Smile Sweepstakes. You know what never goes out of style? A bright, confident smile, and PHLY and Dudhat Dental Group are teaming up to give you the chance to win a brighter, healthier smile absolutely free with the Dudhat Dental Bright Smile Sweepstakes. Each week, we are giving away one Philips teeth whitening home kit to a lucky winner. And at the end of the sweepstakes, one grand prize winner will take home an Oral-B IO toothbrush, top of the line tech for your teeth. Entering is easy. Just head to allphly.com/Dudhat Dental Group, fill out the entry form, and you're eligible for both prizes. That's it. There is no purchase necessary, but don't wait too long. The sweepstakes runs from now through August 29th. So you have a few weeks left. We have some weekly winners that will be selected throughout the sweepstakes, and the grand prize announcement will come at the end of the contest period. So if you want a whiter smile and a cleaner mouth without spending a dime, head to allphly.com/Dudhat Dental Group and enter the Dudhat Dental Bright Smile Sweepstakes today. Full sweepstakes rules and eligibility can be found at allphly.com/Dudhat Dental Group. Must be 18 or older to enter. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Julia, we got the wheel. Gonna take a spin. Here we go. Here we go. Very Wheel of Fortune style. Oh, congrats to Crane Holmes.
Ooh, strong name. Strong name.
That is our weekly winner. Congrats to Crane. You will be receiving the Philips Teeth Whitening Home Kit to Crane.
What an honor. Could you read the name before it popped up? Like, can you read that tiny text?
Crane Holmes?
Yeah.
I can read it, yeah.
No, like when it was on the wheel.
Oh, no.
Okay, all right.
Oh, no, those are very small. That
I got to maintain my...
That would be like... Yeah, I feel like I'd be like an X-Men or something like that if I could see that. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, it's just reassuring because like I'm kind of terrified for when my vision goes. I have like almost perfect vision, and I'm too old now to feel confident putting contacts in. So when it goes, I'm just going to be a glasses guy, I think.
I think that's great. But is this like a long-term worry for you?
It's not. Listen, I've got a lot of worries, so this is not front of mind. But like when I'm looking at that, it's like, oh, I can't read that. Can Rich read that? Should I be worried about my eyesight?
Oh man, no, EJ, nobody could read that. That was extremely small. That was like size 4 font, and it's pretty far away from us. Yeah, there's no way. Do you? So I mean, you're kind of opening up your inner thoughts to us.
I'm vulnerable. That's how I'm going to make friends.
And right? So when you're in the doctor's office and they have those charts with the the big letter at the top and all the way at the bottom, does that give you some anxiety?
No,
even if you're passing by it. Let's say you're at a checkup and they just have that on the wall. Like,
it doesn't give me anxiety because I ace them. Like, again, I don't have a sense of smell, so I think that my eyesight is like a compensatory. Like, I think my eyesight is perfect because I can't smell.
See, I don't think you should be worried about it. I think you're doing great if you can see the bottom row on those things.
But you gotta check it in every once in a while. You just gotta make sure that you're still on top of your game. That's it.
So when you go to a doctor's appointment and you see, like, you see the chart and you actually can read all of the lines from a decent distance, are you walking out of there like, still got it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a relief. It's a relief factor to know that I still have at least one solid sense.
It's the small things in life. And as a mea culpa, because I mentioned one of the he who shall not be named earlier on, we will do the rest of this show in overtime. Okay, I have one more big question from you from the practices, and it is about Tanner McKee. Because, look, all of the caveats apply with Tanner McKee. I know it seems ridiculous that I'd be like, yeah, I'm not sure I would trade him for a second round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, and I understand the idea of the Eagles being a Super Bowl contender, so that's probably a decision unless you get blown away with a trade offer for next offseason, right? When you only have him for one more year. But I've made fun of plenty of other franchises throughout the years. Oh my gosh, this terrible quarterback is lighting up these second stringers who are playing completely vanilla coverage in the preseason. That said, Tanner McKee looks awesome every time we see him play. So in the training camp practices, when he is not front and center like he is in the preseason games, because number one, you're trying to take notes on every single player, and Tanner McKee right now is a backup, and you're more worried sometimes about the actual starting competitions. What is he doing at practice? Is he lighting it up at practice every single day? Like, what does Tanner McKee do behind the scenes? Not behind the scenes for you, but behind the scenes for the average fan. Like, is he just making amazing throw after amazing throw? Because I watched that preseason game the other day. I'm just blown away by some of the throws he's making.
So it's funny you ask that, because in the lead up to that preseason game, I almost went so far as to say the ball was not hitting the ground for Tanner McKee during practice. Since the preseason game, I feel like he has been a little bit less sharp. He has been more...
Look who's in the chat, by the way.
Oh, man. Oh, thank you, ZB. I appreciate that.
ZB, we love you. We miss you.
I was going to be so upset, though. But... I'm going to hear about this.
Well, I'm not doing a show with Bo for a while, so you're gonna take the brunt of that one.
Well, I'm already like making enemies in the Philly podcast space, pointing at cameras and calling out Sheil Kapadia. So, this has been an interesting week this week. Yeah,
feels very much like the rap scene in the late '90s right now too. Yeah, it's very lot of beefs going on right now. All right, keep going on Tanner.
So Tanner McKee, I feel like he hasn't had his sharpest practices the last few days, but I'm with you. I think that Tanner McKee has a real upside as a, like, I'm going to keep using, this is like the second or third time I've used an NCAA football like player archetype, just because like they're fresh in my mind and they are good descriptors for these things. He is a backfield creator, in my opinion. He is somebody who you want to be like the point guard of an offense around a bunch of talented players. And I think because of his ability to get the ball into guys' hands in the right places, in the right timing, he has a real upside with that. Again, and he's looked really sharp for most of the summer. I don't think he's looked bad since the preseason game, but again, the day that I watched the offense in joint practices wasn't necessarily the same level that we saw against the Bengals. But still, I'm with you. I think that he is a like fringe starter level player at the very least right now. And I think he should eventually get that opportunity, but not this season.
It's almost reassuring for my sanity to know that, sometimes he actually is not lighting it up to an insane degree. Cause I just feel like every time we watch him in the preseason, it's excellent. Like he's getting the ball out there fast. He's giving his receivers chance. Like those Johnny Wilson throws, I know those are jump balls, but he's putting those in a perfect spot for him to make that
absolutely.
play. He's very good.
Yeah, leading into that game, I remember there were one or two practices where I was like, the ball didn't touch the ground is a very high compliment you can pay a quarterback in practice.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember watching Tom Brady during a joint practice, and this is back when Jalen Hurts was not that type of quarterback, so it really stood out. And Jalen has a few of those days, but yeah, Tanner definitely had a few of those days and has those types of days in practice because he is like, he seems like he's in such good command of what they're asking him to do. And sometimes that second team offense can be a little bit chaotic, a little bit disjointed. The fact that he is able to get those guys on the same page and do that and look that way in practice definitely is a testament to how much command he has on that offense.
Okay, Tanner McKee is somebody we're all looking forward to watch tomorrow at 1 p.m. By the way, this got mentioned yesterday. I feel like summer Saturdays should be preserved.
Yeah. especially it's
isn't that lawn mowing time for you?
It's tomorrow. It will be like Premier League time, if I'm being honest. Now, I'm not saying that the Premier League takes precedent over the Eagles, but it's like, come on,
you don't get paid to cover Aston Villa.
Not yet.
Ooh,
you never know. Maybe one day. Retirement plan.
Do you think they have any players from Tarleton State? Probably not.
Probably not. They should maybe recruit some players from Tarleton State, though.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Tanner McKee, though, tomorrow at high noon, actually 1 p.m. But yeah, he will be somebody we're excited to watch in the preseason game against the Browns. I'll give you two other players that you are interested in watching in tomorrow's game.
McWilliams, we talked about him earlier, but he is definitely a player I'll keep an eye on. I wonder if Jihaad Campbell will play, and he's somebody. But to give you some new players, I'm really trying to think of somebody off under.
Here's a guy I want to see. I don't know if he's going to play, so you might be a little more up to date on the injury situation. Is Drew Mukuba going to play tomorrow?
I mean, he was in team yesterday, so I think he probably will play. And that's a good one because I've seen him get beat by too many tight ends this summer.
Sounds like he's getting dunked on a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, Drew Mukuba and Sidney Brown both, seeing those guys in games, their play personality is such a big part of how you have to envision them, the aggressiveness that they both play with. I think it's really interesting that the Eagles doubled down on that play personality. Like, you have Sidney Brown in the building. He's somebody who is a see ball, get ball, aggressive player. And you didn't go for like a cerebral, passive type that you want on the back end of a Vic Fangio defense. You got Drew Mukuba, who is also like that, but in a smaller package. So I think one of those guys could still separate themselves. Obviously, Sidney Brown has kind of been in the lead so far through the summer. But yeah, I want to see both of those guys for sure.
That will be interesting. I mean, it's some of the juice gets taken out of the preseason game, especially after a couple of joint practices.
Oh, for sure.
When the teams seem to take them a little more seriously. But hey, at least the Eagles will be able to get off a pass in these games because it sounds like Myles Garrett was just living
game record
in their backfield, which that's cool. Myles Garrett is awesome. Okay, so that is what we have this weekend. We have a game. I believe, Julia, we'll have a podcast after the game. We'll have a post-game pod. I believe Bo and Jamie are on the sticks for that one. Are they back at practice when? Monday?
Monday.
All right. So EJ will be there, and I'm sure you'll have some more coverage on the site. Do we have one more week of training camp after that? When do they boot you?
3 practices next week, and then they boot us, and we go back into the regular season routine. Which, honestly, the first couple of weeks of training camp, I am like so fired up. I love training camp, and I still enjoy it. But after, I think just like the players, like once you get close to the regular season, that excitement starts to build up. And the routine, being able to get into that rhythm of week to week coverage. I'm excited for it for sure.
I think we all are excited. Well, you made it, man. Your first week.
It was fun. It was more fun than I expected it to be. I thought I was going to be swimming here, but you guys make it easy.
Did it like a pro, especially those ad reads you were a little worried about. Unbelievable. Come on. Mac Weldon and Ford. Unbelievable. Thank you to EJ. Thank you to Julia, as always, for her production excellence behind the scenes. We will see you tomorrow after the Eagles-Browns preseason game. Bo and Jamie will be there. And until then, I'll just say, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.